2021. Can I begin by introducing myself? I'm Andrew Bentley, I'm the chairman of Blackbird PLC, and I'm joined here today by Ian McDonough, the CEO, and Stephen Streeter, the Chief Technology Officer. We're present as shareholders at the company's offices to ensure that the meeting is quorate. I'm also joined online by my co-directors, David Main, Dawn Airy, and John Honeycutt. They're participating via an online facility. As outlined in the circular to shareholders dated the 28th of April 2021, in view of the UK's government's coronavirus restrictions, this annual general meeting will be run as a closed meeting. Shareholders have been invited to join the meeting online with a Q&A facility enabled, and we will endeavour to address questions raised at the end of the meeting after the declaration of the poll vote. Responses will be published at the earliest opportunity on the company's website. The circular to shareholders, including the notice of the AGM, together with a copy of the company's 2020 annual published on the 28th of April 2021, and accordingly, notice of the AGM has been duly given in accordance with the statutory requirements of the company's association. I'll take the notice as set out in the notice of AGM is put to the meeting in turn, with the results declared on a poll vote once all the resolutions have been put to the meeting. So, Resolution 1. First resolution is to receive the reports and accounts of the company for its year ending the 31st of December 2020. I'll take the reports of the directors and auditors as read. Resolution 2. The second resolution is to reappoint Moore Kingston Smith LLP as the company's auditors and to authorise the directors to fix their remuneration. The third resolution is for the reappointment of John Honeycutt, who, having been appointed to the board on the 24th of June 2020, is required to stand for election at the AGM in accordance with the company's Articles of Association. The fourth resolution is for the reappointment of myself as the director. I retire by rotation in accordance with the company's Articles of Association. The fifth resolution is to renew the authority of the directors to issue shares set at a limit equal to 1/4 of the issued share capital of the company at the date of the notice. The sixth resolution is to renew the authority of the directors to issue shares for cash in certain limited circumstances without first offering those shares to existing shareholders. And Resolution 7 is to approve the renewal of the Blackbird PLC Long-Term Incentive Plan 2019 LTIP for a further period of 3 calendar years from expiry on the 31st of December 2021, and to renew the authority of the directors to allot shares in the company to satisfy vested awards under the LTIP without first offering those shares to existing shareholders. That's all the resolutions for today. So we have the votes in, and taking a poll of each of the resolutions, and the results, they are as followed. It's a good job the Eurovision people are not voting on any of this. So, Resolution 1, the receipt of report and accounts. There were 197,797,616 votes for and 47,960 votes against. So I declare the resolution carried, and that is a percentage of 99.9% passed. Second resolution, the reappointment of Moore Kingston. Again, 197,797,616 votes for and 47,960 votes against. Accordingly, I declare the resolution carried at 99.9%. The third resolution, the reappointment of John Honeycutt. 197,797,616 votes for and 47,960 votes against. Accordingly, I declare the resolution carried with a 99.9% pass. Resolution 4, the reappointment of myself. 197,797,616 votes for and 47,960 votes against. I declare the resolution carried with 99.9%. Resolution 5, the grant of Section 551 allotment security. That again is 197,682,896 votes for and 162,680 votes against. And I declare that accordingly passed with a 99.9% authority. Resolution 6, disapplication of preemptive rights. 197,528,559 votes for and 317,117 votes against. Accordingly, I declare this resolution carried with this as a special resolution with a 99.8% pass. And resolution 7, the LTIP renewal. 187,991,147 votes for and 12,847,829 votes against. I accordingly declare that resolution carried as a special resolution with 93.5% pass. And that concludes the formal part of the meeting. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open the Q&A session, and at the bottom of the screen you'll see the opportunity to send in your comments and questions, and we'll seek to address them, answer them. Let's see where. No questions so far. Okay, well, we'll give you a few minutes. Okay, I have the first question in as somebody that claims to have sent the question in by email on Thursday. I wonder if you could please address this. Many thanks. If you'd kindly repeat the question, we'll give it a good go. But in the meantime, I'm not quite sure where you sent it to, so I'll just move on to the next question. Any update, please, on public cloud progress, technical and commercial? So first of all, should I pass this over to Ian for comment? Ian, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I did the classic thing. I was on mute. Sorry, apologies. Hi, Mark. Yeah, no, on the progress on the technical and commercial side of moving our back end to the public cloud is going very well. It is definitely a 2021 project, which is something that has always been stated as being our objective there. Stephen can probably update a little bit more in terms of where we've got to technically, but it's we talked about this in the 2020 results roadshow just a month or so ago. Things are progressing very nicely. We're in close contact with the largest of the cloud providers. The decision for us is really to do that one properly, to do that large public cloud provider first properly within this year, and to hopefully be able to talk about a significant customer around that before we move on to the others. Stephen, do you want to update a little bit in terms of where we got to technically?
Yes, we've had several. Don't switch your sound off again. Thanks. You have to switch your speaker off. Sure. Sorry, a bit bossy. We've had several technical meetings with this particular cloud provider, and they're saying they'll help us with the design, which they have done, to make our cloud much more cost-effective and efficient running on their cloud. And that work is progressing well. We did an early prototype last year, which would have been for NAB, but that's now becoming much more scalable system. And the plan is to have something by the end of this year that we can actually commercialize. So that's from the technical side. There's also the product side. They are looking into the different case studies and the different types of users, because we have quite a range of clients who could buy a cloud solution. But from the technical point of view, they're pretty similar, and we are making good progress on that.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
In answer to the question from Colin, Colin, I did receive your email ahead of time, and there are a series of questions here, so I'll try and get to the key ones. I think you were first of all asking about announcements. We are working on getting announcements out as quickly as possible. We are working sometimes with some of the larger companies in the world, really, and although we're a small agile company that moves very quickly, sometimes our counterparts on the other side of the fence don't move as quickly. So we have to try and move things along as at speed, do that, and get announcements to you as quickly as we can. You ask a question around Tata particularly. We are very happy with the Tata relationship. We're in discussions with them on a number of different fronts, and we have a number of successful tie-ups with them already. Not all of them are announced, and we talked about that in the end of 2020 roadshow. We are trying to get them announced, but obviously when it comes down to these big companies who have also very big customers, getting everybody lined up to make an announcement about us is not always that easy. So it's kind of watch this space, I'm afraid, Colin. You have to bear with us on that one. I'm trying to see your questions. You asked about Zixi in particular. I think that's quite interesting. Zixi, we talked about as being an OEM around a year or so ago. I think where we have now got to with Zixi as a company is that they've very much become an enabler of our business. And interestingly, Zixi is the format of integration that a number of the other OEMs are looking for. So I think the simple answer to that is some of these companies will end up being OEMs where they bring us the business. Other ones will be capabilities and enablers for bringing in other OEMs around it. The key thing is that Blackbird is very much a part of the ecosystem. And if we're the part of the ecosystem that does scalable web video editing at pace and at very high quality, then we are sitting very well. I mean, the number of OEMs that are coming to us and asking can we be involved in their pitches and their joint RFQ answers, RFP answers, etc., is ever growing. And I think we're very happy with how the whole OEM strategy is moving along. I would just say that it's sometimes you have to bear with us in terms of size, because and timing, because the scale of these companies is very large, and getting them to turn around and do very quick announcements is also sometimes challenging. You asked about my personal investments. Well, I don't know how else to give you the confidence that I've got in this company, other than the fact that I personally have invested large sums of money in it and continue to do so even at the prices that we're currently at. And I'm not the only one in the company doing so, Colin. You've got a number of directors and employees that are all investing in this business from all sides of the company, because they really absolutely truly believe in what the company can achieve. So I hope you're encouraged by that I'm willing to stick my pension on the company. Certainly should be. That's the intention. So we're all very confident of where we can get to, and thank you for noticing that we're supporting it.
Thank you, Ian. Does anybody else have any other questions they would like? We have the full board are here. So has there been any commercial interest in the Blackbird player? This is from Mark Kilby. So that's probably a commercial question again. Ian, do you want to?
Yeah, no,
address that?
we've talked about this a little bit before, Mark, at the last roadshow as well. There is commercial interest in the player because it is used in most of our larger scale deployments now. If you look at where we get to with the world's leading global news service, the player is used throughout that deployment. With A&E Network, similar, it's used right throughout that deployment. So, actually, we're doing a webinar with A&E this week, actually. So you're very, very welcome to join and hear more detail about that and about where they see Blackbird in their workflow and in their infrastructure, and gives you a flavour. So yeah, that's the quick answer to that, is that we absolutely use the player technology in all our major deployments.
Okay, we have another question here. I think it's probably already been addressed, really. It's regarding the public cloud. As a customer, will you be able to contract with more than one cloud at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
There are companies that are not allowed to for various reasons because of the way their infrastructure is built, but our infrastructure is very light and malleable, and no one will get any exclusivity over anything, I don't think so. Unless there's some crazy offer, but that's not the intention.
We've got a question as to whether we are likely to achieve break even anytime soon.
So I take that one, Ian. We don't actually give out forecasts, as you're all aware, but as you saw last year, your revenue is growing nicely, and when these OEMs coming on board, we're confident, as we've said to the market already, that we're going to hit break even within our existing resources.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. No more questions? We also have all of our non-executive directors here today as well. John's dialing in from the East Coast of the US, and we have Dawn and David as well as myself. So, okay, we'll give this a few more minutes, see if anybody is maybe getting connection problems, and they've got a great question for us, but just can't get it into the machine yet.
Yeah. I think one of the key things I'd say, just to fill some space here, is that we last did an AGM back in 2019 in our offices here in Wimbledon. At the time, we were trading at around 7p, and we laid out our strategy as to what we would want to achieve over the next period of time. I think one person stood up and said that he bought shares in 2012 at 35p, and when would we ever get back to 35p again? Well, I hope that the management team gives you confidence as investors that we are well capable of achieving what we say we're going to achieve. We're already trading above 35p. We've been up as far as 41p, and there's lots more to come from this team. We're just really getting started, and so the market is definitely absolutely perfectly poised for us to really add value to huge amounts of workflows around the world, and we've really got a fantastic reputation as a disruptive technology now in the market that people trust. So it's in great shape. Let me have a look and see a few more questions coming in.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, we're just apologizing. My battery just crashed on my machine, so I just have to move over to Steve's. How do we refresh the questions on this one, Steve? Okay, scroll down that way. Okay. Will we be able to meet at the halftime results? Well, I think we would love to meet shareholders as soon as practically possible, but we will follow advice on meetings in person. I think that's
at the halftime. Just to that point, you see, I don't know if that means meet in person, but we will certainly be doing another investor meets presentation at the halftime results, which we've just started doing. We did the second one just recently. It was very, very well attended, and a lot of interaction between us and the investors community. So yeah, absolutely. I see there's a question there from Dan saying, have all the directors invested in Blackbird I think I'm correct in saying that all the ambassadors are directed at Blackbird except John, who's an American, and difficult for him to do so. But I'm sure that we can find a route for him should he be happy to do so. Yeah, it's a little more tricky when you're on that side of the pond.
Yes, there's a question here also about some of the non-execs and what we specifically do to promote Blackbird. Well, we'll obviously do a number of things. We're all ambassadors for the company, but one of the opportunities we have is occasionally to open our network of contacts and make introductions where necessary, either to clients or any potential partners. So we all network quite actively with our contacts. So without sort of giving commercial confidences away with regards to which specific introductions have come around, but we're here to do that, and we expect to do that as part of the role. What are the technical objectives over the next 12 months? Do you want to pick that up, Stephen?
Yes, I can pick some of these, so you can get socially distanced. So we've got quite a few actually. One of the most significant will be allowing us to run on public cloud, because that will allow us to scale very quickly. So obviously we have our own cloud and we can scale that, and we've scaled it over the last, however many years. But being on a public cloud allows us to switch on any amount of capacity, and that opens a much bigger option for sales and OEMs, as you can imagine. The other things that the Blackbird 10 is the next big upgrade in our compression. So Blackbird 9, which was the last upgrade, imaginatively, as you can see from development, was designed really to run in JavaScript. And now essentially all our clients run in JavaScript. That was our first codec to allow that. And it was also about 3 or 4 times the resolution of the previous codec that we used. And it also allowed the option for 60 frames a second and another 2.5 times the resolution, which our gamers particularly use. So Blackbird 10 is planned, and I won't promise anything till it comes out, but it's planned to be a multiple higher resolution and correspondingly a multiple lower data rate for a given number of pixels, and also to play back a multiple times faster in JavaScript. So it will be potentially good enough to watch your finished content on various platforms, probably not on television. It's not broadcast quality, but it will certainly be comparable with what you see at HD on social media. So that's the plan for Blackbird 10. We also have a lot of work on our APIs. So as you can imagine, with a cloud system, we have a lot of APIs that allow different parts of the system to talk to each other. And now we're opening up those APIs to clients who can then access our infrastructure from their own software. And in fact, we have our first signed client already, who has a big sporting tournament coming up. And they are exactly doing that, writing their own software to interact directly with our system. But there's a much big opportunity to open these APIs. We have several opened up, which again, rather unimaginatively called the editor API and the metadata API, the ingest API, so people can ingest their own content, and the node API, which is going to be probably due out the end of this year. So we will continue to make these APIs accessible to our clients who, for the first time sort of ever, are now big enough to actually develop their own software to use our infrastructure. So that is quite a good development. And I mean, I could go on forever, but I'll just say a couple more. We're doing some very big editor upgrades. They're not big as in code length, but conceptually they're big because we're moving ever more up market. We're replacing more and more of the standard desktop editors with our cloud solution. And what clients are coming and saying, our product people, is if only you had this feature, we could replace a whole another batch of workflows. And so we're working through, each time we add one of these features, we capture more workflows. And the objective is not to do everything that an Avid does, but sort of to do everything useful that an Avid does for this modern cloud environment. And that is progressing very smoothly, just upgrade after upgrade. So last year we launched Blur, for example, that's useful in news, where you can have not just a patch of blur on the screen, but it can follow nice curves. So you can follow moving objects around. So it's very nicely done, Blur. And I won't tell you what we're doing at the moment because we haven't released it yet, but it's something that people have said they would be able to use this in a lot more workflows if they had this feature. There aren't that many features these people need, but by adding them, we are just knocking down those 9 pins one at a time.
It's also probably fair to say that we're always looking at opportunities to increase our portfolio of patents and to keep our IP as fresh as possible and as competitive as possible. Can you say more about licensing, the kind of things that you have in mind, even if you can't name specific plans? Ian, you might want to comment on that.
Sure. It's Colin again. I think it's going to be pretty brief, this Colin, because I don't want to say too much about licensing. We've hinted at it, and I think that you're certainly no stranger to the quality of the technology that lies at the heart of what we've got at Blackbird, and how it is applicable to different companies either in our space or even just related to our space. So I don't want to say too much about it. Our strategy is definitely modular. We've talked about infrastructure, we've talked about OEM, we've talked about public cloud, and we've hinted now at licensing. I think I'd want to leave it there until we have more definite news.
Okay. Another question from Howard. Are we upgrading our pricing to reflect the technical upgrades? Well,
yes, absolutely. Yeah. We are very conscious of the market, Howard. In fact, we have a paper coming out in the next few weeks, a TCO paper. TCO stands for total cost of ownership. So we're very, very familiar with where our pricing sits in the market as a whole. We want to be competitive. At the end of the day, we are a disruptive technology, turfing out incumbents from major workflows. So we need to make sure that we're appealing not only in terms of the quality, but also in terms of the total cost of running those platforms. What we did present at the end of the roadshow recently was a couple of slides on how our market, our total addressable market fits and compared to the market as a whole. And we explained on that slide that we don't just sell editing software, we're actually selling a basket of goods around the editing software that include cloud infrastructure and transport, etc. That mean that of every deal that we do in the marketplace versus, let's say, one of our big competitors in the NLE space, we take around 10 times the value that they do, because we're selling a broader church of goods and services to them. And so yeah, so our pricing is very well known to us. We push it as hard as we can to win deals. We don't want to lose on price. At the same time, we also want to maximize everything for every dollar. But it's always a balancing act.
Okay, thank you, Ian. And questioning on the Codec 10. Will the Codec 10 have transformational effect on the OEMs? Are some OEMs waiting for the release before committing to Blackbird? I'll hand that to Stephen, actually.
Okay. So we don't really tell the OEMs much about our future technology plans at the moment, because what we have is already way beyond what our competitors have in the areas that we specialize in, particularly the editing side. So I think the point about Blackbird 10 is that there will be many OEMs in other areas and in more diverse areas, bigger areas, who could license Blackbird 10, who don't need it for our traditional areas, media and entertainment, for the editing that we do. So I think we don't know, but I would be surprised if there weren't people who, when they discover about it after it's finished, they will be the OEMs that would not even consider us in the markets that we're in, but who could consider us with this new technology.
Can't see if there are any more questions here.
Yeah.
How can Blackbird shares be made more accessible to the US market?
I'll take that one, Andy.
You can, Stephen.
Yeah, well, we don't, we're always looking at ways to make, sort of look at increase the liquidity of our shares for everybody. So there's a number of different options that we're exploring out. I can't say too much at this stage, but yes, we're always looking to make sure that the Blackbird shares, are as liquid as possible.
Okay, Okay, if I were a Grabio shareholder, should I be worried? Well, I would be, but I don't know if anyone else would like to answer that.
Well, I think I'll answer that. It's listen. We actually met with the Grabio owners recently. Quite interesting. I mean, they understand that we've got something that overlaps with them, but it's not the same product. They do a lot more live switching than we do. We do a lot more higher grade editing than we do. So we have some overlap, but we also sit in the same workflows with them on occasion. So it's unusual, but sometimes we sit with them. I think overall, if I was a Grabio shareholder, I would not be worried, because I would think that this market is growing very, very quickly, and you need competitors in the market to prove there's actually a market there sometimes. So no, I still think I think at the end of the day, Grabio is a great product. It's different to what we do. We do certain things that they don't. We do a lot of things that they don't, but likewise they do some things that we don't do. We're not, and we haven't developed, and we're not going in that direction. We're going in a slightly different direction.
Point taken, Ian. Okay. Any other questions coming? Oh yeah, we have one down here. On the same vein, should Avid be worried about Blackbird's future? Anybody want to comment? We'll give it a technical answer.
I could. Well, I had a couple of years ago. I had a chat with Avid, because they were announcing. Because this was at IBC. They gave a talk, and they had just presented a whole presentation of things that we had done like 10 years before, and everyone was saying, "Wow, that's amazing! Why didn't anyone else think of that?" And I had a chat with the presenter, who was very senior at Avid, and he said, yes, of course he knew that we had done those things 10 years earlier, but you can't go faster than your market. And so Avid have got a very conservative audience, and they've been going very slowly. Now, the problem is that the market has turned on a sixpence, and now everyone's working from home and wanting a lot more flexibility and agility and cloud workflows. And now the question is, can Avid also turn on a sixpence? And I think they'll find that hard, just because of their size and their culture. So I think our future in the cloud will not clash with Avid's future, Avid's past on the desktop, but I think they will have difficulty moving to the cloud.
And it's probably true to say we are the only true cloud native solution out there. So we have another question here. Any developments regarding the green initiative recently announced, and how can you capitalize on this more? Well, a lot to be said on that, actually, but I'll let Ian again, if you want to address that. It's such an ongoing issue. It's a relevant issue to all of our customers.
Yeah, thanks for noticing, Howard. It's gone down extremely well in the market, I have to say. We were very much ahead of the curve when we started talking about doing this, because we are incredibly light. We have an incredibly light footprint, and use very few of the resources, the world's resources, thanks to Stephen's absolutely fantastic design of the software. So where we take it from here, well, we want to absolutely make sure that for every prospect and every current customer, they are aware through our calculator of what the alternatives would be like. And therefore it is very much a tool for using in sales and bringing in new customers. We're planning an event later this year where we will bring in some of the world leaders in terms of sustainable technology. We talked about, when we announced the initiative in the first place, that we should very much be building a team of people, or a consensus of the willing in terms of this part of the industry, and making sure that we can kind of put an end-to-end workflow together that is the most efficient in terms of carbon from start to finish. So we are working on that as well. So yeah, I think there's lots of things that we're doing. We will continue to bang the drum about it. We all personally believe in the mission very, very much. But I think it's a case of watch this space. There will be more news on that to come.
Well, I don't see any more questions here. Of course, if anybody does have any further questions afterwards, they're more than welcome to write an email to us, and we'll endeavour to get back to them rather promptly. Okay, I think we'll probably wrap that up then. Okay, we'll probably wrap things up for now. And but before we go,
one more question there. Sorry, one more question.
I don't see any. Oh, there is one just come in. Yes, given the recent director buys, is Blackbird in a closed period? I no material news announcements.
Well, I can answer that one, Dan. Actually, directors wouldn't be able to buy if we were in a closed period. So, yeah, there's a lot of things. You know, there are a lot of things in the pipeline, and we're all very excited about the future prospects for the company.
Yes, it's tricky as to when we can buy, actually. So yes, good point. But any more last questions coming through? Okay, well, we'll leave it there. And as I say, please feel free to drop us a note, and we'll get back to you whenever we can. Before we go, I just wanted to say a couple of things as well, and that is, you know, the last year or so has been very, very difficult for everybody, and we have had a solution that has been very much of the moment and the time, but the world is really catching up with us. But more importantly, from a cultural point of view, this organization under Ian's leadership has turned on a dime itself and responded incredibly well to the challenge that we face as a business. And not only has it responded well, but we're beginning to see it in the order book. The technology is developing fantastically, and the message about Blackbird through the marketing team is louder than ever before. So I, on behalf of the board, just want to congratulate Ian and the team. And secondly, I just wanted to say a really big thank you to you shareholders, because we do appreciate you sticking by us. We do see that everyone is excited about the business as we are, and we really appreciate your support. There's a number that have been here for a long time, and for which I think, what's the phrase, the bird is the word. So that's a call out for you, and a big thank you from us, and we'll leave it at that for now. Thank you, and I hope that we can get to see you in person sometime very, very soon. All the best. Bye-bye. Okay. Let's